They are underway. It's a 9-point deficit. You don't want this entering double-digit territory because then, hey, you'll be in pretty good company. You'll be in Nepos company, and you'll be in the company of everybody that Magnus has destroyed over the last few years in the SEC, and that list is pretty wide. For Wesley, okay, 29 minutes, Danny. You need to get this down to, I think, at a minimum 6 points to have even an iota of a chance to come back in the bullet.
Agreed, and I think at this point it's almost irrelevant as to whether the comeback happens, but just win one game, right? Mm-hmm. Just win the next game, and see where that takes you. I think is the mindset that we're looking for, and we have a Botvinnik English structure for black, very solid center. White employing a double fee and Keto kind of system here. Lots of flexibility here as I hurl my headphone wire back.
I like this for both. This is an interesting position. Black putting together what I refer to as the Botvinnik setup. That's how it was taught to me, when you have these pawns on c5, d6, and e5, and then you have the fee and Keto bishop. That's how it's characterized. Of course, the drawback is that you are weakening the d5 square, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Black's structure is very solid. It's very compact, and you do have the eventual possibility of orchestrating, Danny, some kingside play, maybe with an eventual push of the f-pawn. First, you trade the bishops, which definitely is in Black's favor as well.
Yeah. No, you said it well. I was also taught that it was the Botvinnik English, just FYI, in case you're like, was I given a name that no one else used? I'm pretty sure it was the same name, so that's good. We're in the same camp there. Yeah, here's White getting some queenside play with b4. And it's funny because you have to be careful. If the Botvinnik structure does get undermined, some things can change quickly, and if this knight stays put, could become a real thorn, even if it turns into a protected pass pawn.
Mm-hmm. Great point. So, quick interjection, Danny. Guess at what age Mikhail Botvinnik learned the rules of chess?
If I had to guess, it was like 3 or something.
It was double digits. It was 12.
Wow.
I read in his autobiography. 12. Can you believe that? I mean, that's obviously impossible anymore, but back in Botvinnik's time, he was born in 1911, learned the rules of the game in 1923 or so, and just a couple of years later was defeating Jose Capablanca in super tournaments. Not a bad progression.
That's a pretty impressive trajectory there. That's a pretty awesome path there. Botvinnik, the father of the Botvinnik Soviet chess school, and a legend. You look at Naming world champions in history. If you ever try to test yourself, that you know sort of the timeline of world champions. Mm-hmm. When you get into the Botvinnik area, it can challenge you a little bit if you really are trying to name everyone in sequential order. it gets pretty rough because he both won and then lost the world championship multiple times.
And absolutely. It's like when you try to name the presidents and you get into like Tyler, Polk, Taylor, and then Tyler and Taylor and Schmaler and Van Buren. That's when the presidents get less memorable. You got the Smyslovs and the Talls and the Petrosians, and they all kept going back and forth like Hikaru and Magnus in the SEC.
Yeah, it was a wild time.
Do you like how I brought it back to the SEC, Danny?
Yes. Hey,
okay.
Hats off to you, sir. I don't wear a hat anymore because it rapidly increases my balding, so I don't wear hats anymore. But okay, I tip my hat to you, sir. We have a weak D pawn. We have a B file we're fighting for. Wesley has reinforced it with the A pawn, but overall, not a ton to write home about. If I had to choose, though, I kind of like White, despite the D pawn being weak. I really get worried about the C pawn. I feel like the E5 pawn is a target, also the square. And I kind of feel like if a transition happens here, a trade of these minor pieces, I kind of like the knight. But what do you think?
I share your instinct. I like the knight on c4, which could become a knight on d5. In fact, you can play knight b6 right here, and that is a Magnus-esque kind of move. Again, look at that X-ray defense of the rook on b1 to the b6 square. But Magnus kind of deciding, yep, knight b6, there it is.
Oh, he goes for it, yeah.
Danny, the thing is, once the knight gets to d5, Black can challenge that knight by dropping his own knight to e7, although even that is hard to achieve because there is a fork on c7 that you have to be very careful about allowing.
Yeah. Well, he puts the queen on a7, which allows knight e7. So very good heads of play, but note that Magnus is not messing around, playing super quickly with his knight moves, working on those knight moves. He's got, by the way, has any piece besides the knight moved in the last 10 moves?
Jeez, what a ring around the rosy. Well, the A pawn is about to move up and seize the B file, even at the cost of the D3 pawn. Worthy price to pay. And bishop A5 instead.
Do it. Bishop
Weird.
A5.
Now he plays it.
Well, now the
Still
D pawn
good.
isn't hanging, so interesting.
The A pawn is, but if you take the A pawn, you allow the infiltration, Danny, of white's queen to B7, and the bishop from A5 can challenge the knight from D8. Oh, what about that juicy little move?
Yeah, bishop D8 would be a move you regret allowing. So instead, Wesley plays knight to C6.
Okay, bishop C3, a slight advantage, no risk, good position. Yes, Uncle Sasha?
You have this slon C3 con D4. You have okay, very nice. Now bring the queen. No, the knight comes back to B6. He loves maneuvering and reinforcing now.
Oh, look at that knight. You know how to say outpost in Russian?
I used to. I've lost so many of my vocabulary. Go ahead.
Forpost.
What is it?
I think that term is an obscure chess term in English. Well, it's forpost. F-O-R and then post. Your Soviet schoolboy lesson for the day, chat.
I love it. Okay, queen to C4. The queen is inching forward. Wesley So has not played like the Soviet schoolboy you said he needed to be when the wheels started to come off. Magnus is pushing hard in every position, although this one's getting weird. Some time pressure ensuing for both players.
Yep, queen e6. Queen e6 is begging to be played, especially now with the e-pawn weak. But Magnus adheres to his strategy. He's trying to get his king over to the queen side, delegating the task of stopping the pawn to his king so that his queen and knight are free to roam about the cabin. But queen e7, Wesley blundering the a-pawn. There was no need to give that away. And he's on complete
Magnus
tilt here. The
takes
knight from d5. What a move. Blocking the queen's path.
And it threatens the bishop. It blocks the queen from coming in.
Oh,
the bishop.
mate!
He's got mate on h8.
Whoa. Did you see that? Queen b7, queen c8, and now he's going to promote his a-pawn. And Wesley has not a single check. Another victory.